Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa. I'm your host. This is a little bit of a last-minute podcast, trying to get it out before this Saturday when you're hearing it. It's now a Tuesday in Hawaii, and it's a little rainy, though always lovely, of course. And this is an exciting week for me. I'm working on putting together my kind of email blast for the launch of my new course called Sixth Sense. Say that 3 times fast. I've got all the videos recorded, all the content is created, the tablature examples, all the fretboard charts and everything. It's uploaded. It is ready for people to consume it, to learn from it. And now all that's left is just to get the word out there about it. So this is a course mainly for intermediate players who want to take their lead work up to the next level and learn to play harmonized double stops in the form of sixth harmonies, which I find to be usually the most useful on the ukulele. The thirds are a close second. I thought I would start with the sixths because they're a little bit more obvious as far as how you can use them, and they have some really great Hawaiian applications, which I look into in the course. So it's 16 videos of HD 2-camera filming that I put together. There are 2 song walkthroughs, 2 different Hawaiian melodies that I teach you, and the rest of the content is all about how to harmonize scales, how to create fills, how to play around chord changes, and how to really use these sixth harmonies in your own music. And, the way that I like to teach is to present my students with concepts so that they can go away and know how to apply something to their own music as opposed to just being able to play a single song and things like that. But there are a couple song examples, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it was a really good first effort into this video course thing. I've never really done the heavy-duty video editing where I did all the color correcting and everything as well, but I got it looking quite a lot better than what I started with. It's good enough for now. It's going to be great for those who want to learn about these sixth shapes. And yeah, it's a good baseline for the future, and I move forward to making some more of these. So if you're curious about learning more about the course, you can find more in the episode description. There's a link down in the description wherever you're listening to it. If you're on liveukulele.com already, listening to it on site, you get extra bonus points, and it'll be just right below where the little player is. So I thought today I would kind of take a trip down memory lane and take you along for the ride and revisit some old performances and recordings of some different songs that were mainly kind of mainstay songs in my repertoire and in my sets as I was performing out and about. But just so you can kind of hear the evolution of my playing, but then also from where I'm at now and my understanding of music currently, kind of critique what was happening and try and allow you to hear what I'm hearing as a more experienced and advanced player at this point in time, what I would have done differently, and maybe give you some ideas for maybe some things that you can improve in your own playing or some things to listen for. And, we're all just on a journey, and going back and looking at some of these songs was really interesting to hear. We take for granted where we've come to in playing music, and, right here is never good enough. At least I feel that way. It's like, I could always be better. But then you look back and you kind of see the leaps and bounds you've made, and certain times in your life when you were playing one way, and then, maybe a year later you were playing completely differently, had a different feel, and we can get a little bit more into that when we start rolling the songs. But it's also a chance to practically listen to some music on the podcast, which we don't do a whole lot. Though if you do like that sort of thing, in my extended interview with Tobias Elof, which will be coming up in a couple of weeks, that'll be the next episode to be released. He plays a number of songs, and we also listen to one of his new singles that's coming out or out by now. But yeah, should be fun. Let's get right into it. I will queue up some of these songs I'm going to walk you through, let you know some of the backstory of them. We'll go from there. Let me know what you think of this episode and any other episodes. If there's any content that you would really like to hear me share about, please let me know. You can find out how to contact me on liveukulele.com. So this first song I want to walk you through is a very early demo that I did with my friends Isaac and Micah Wong. They were sort of my musical compadres growing up, and Isaac actually was one of the people who helped me kind of found liveukulele.com because we thought we would make a ton of money and pay our way to go to the Kahumoku Ohana music workshop. That didn't happen. Isaac got a little bit less interested in the website, but I always really liked it, even though we weren't making a lot of money, and have worked on it over the years and continued it to where it is now. But those two guys were kind of my sounding board for music, and we played lots of gigs early on together. Micah played ukulele along with me, and Isaac was more into learning slack key guitar. But this, I would imagine, is from like 2008 probably. We were kind of like just starting to make a push to start gigging out for the first time. And I remember we played, I think, at like the King Kamehameha Hotel. There was some art gala thing, some sort of art presentation that we played a couple songs at, just like at a podium mic, not even properly plugged in. But then a little bit down the road, we started to play at different venues around Kona, and we were very stoked to get paid in food by playing like at Island Lava Java or something down on Bayfront Kona. And yeah, this was a part of our demo CD that we took to the managers and said, hey, why don't you come, let us come play. We'd be really great. Here's our CD. You can hear what we sound like here. And so this is one of the songs that we put on there. It's our rendition of Guava Jam. I think every ukulele player has to do this song if you live in Hawaii. So the thing that I notice in all of these early recordings is that when you're beginning to play, you always have the tendency to rush. And I know I rushed terrible in this era of my playing. And it probably wasn't until I went off to school in IHM that I really kind of cured that. I'm pretty sure I'm playing lead on this whole track, and Micah and Isaac are just playing rhythm. But a lot of times Micah and I would go back and forth on leads and try and keep it dynamic and get everybody involved. And the tendency is to rush when it gets hard, right? You think that you're not going to be able to play it fast enough, so you try and compensate by playing faster, and it ends up just rushing. Something that kind of bugs me about my old playing sound is it was so kind of tinny. I hadn't gotten to a point where I had developed a very good tone on the ukulele. I was just getting the notes out. And that's one thing that I'm so happy that I kind of moved beyond. Maybe rush here. And that wasn't too rushing on the outro. Usually it's the outros you get like excited to get to the very end of the song. But yeah, what I was saying about the tone is that kind of before I went off to school, my family had moved up to Honoka'a, and I had this killer basement bedroom. Kind of the house was built into a hill, and I kind of had the downstairs was half in the hill, half kind of on the upslope side. And it's kind of my own zone. It was a pretty big room. There was lots of room to have like my amps and stuff set up, and I was practicing a lot at that point. I miss having the desire to practice that much. But I remember sitting, and I would just sit and work on my tone. like just how my nails struck the strings, different ways I could file my nails, all the angles I could possibly attack the string with, different touches, different locations on the string. And I know I've explored this significantly in some of my books and in a couple articles on the website. But it's just really dear to my heart because I feel like that was some of the most important practice time that I ever spent. It was just like working on my tone and getting that so dialed in. And you can really hear the difference between that early recording from 08 or 09, whenever it was, into some of the later clips you're going to hear. And so this next one, the sound quality is not super great. I pulled it off of my YouTube channel. I don't have the original recording. It's just kind of crappy camera audio. But it flashes forward to 2011, I think the timestamp was, at the Kahumoku Ohana workshop. Eventually, after being students for long enough at the workshop, got to a point where we got our own slot at the concert day. There was always a concert day at the end of the workshop where everybody got to, like the choir would sing and we'd present. And of course, all the workshop instructors would play. But it got to the point where a lot of us kids, we were getting to a point where we could present, we could be performers as well. And so, Uncle Kyoki Kahumoku let us have a spot on stage and we'd play 3 songs, just get on, get off. And this was one of them. This is actually a tune off of my EP. Isaac came up to Honoka'a and we recorded this one day, but this version is with me and his brother Micah, who, back in the picture again, you'll see him one last time before this is out. And my good buddy, who I haven't seen or heard of in years and years and years, Joe Mann, who actually plays cello. He's this kick-ass cello player. And we had a lot of fun jamming. Joe actually lived right across the way in Honoka'a where we kind of grew up. This was a little piece out of our set at the Kahumoku Veterans Day concert. And I apologize for the audio quality, but it is what it is, and it's interesting to see. And I'll put links in the episode resources to all these videos, or at least the ones that are available on YouTube.
This is an original we wrote with our mentor, Mr. Uncle Herb. Mr. Uncle.
First and only time I said that.
Anyways, this is an original called Carve, named after, say, surfing or skateboarding.
And again, we kind of got some rushing going on, getting into the vibe of the song. A lot of times the rushing doesn't happen so much in the middle of the song, I find, but at the beginning when you're getting established, and then at the outro when you're getting excited about the ending. So this is Micah playing lead right here, and then it switches to me. I find that kind of a side effect of being a solo performer and getting used to playing songs by yourself a lot is that you end up kind of adding more fills and chord punches than you normally would need to when you're playing with a group. And I noticed that watching this video and listening to the audio that I was putting more in there than I needed to, and it could have been a lot cleaner if I just let the band do the work and hold the harmony up around me and just focus on playing lead. Back to Micah, you can hear his pickup was really kind of struggling. And that's a huge deal when you're performing live, is having a good pickup sound cannot be overstated. Right here, Micah does a really good job of kind of playing to the dynamics of the song. And Joe and I didn't follow him so much. And poor Joe, he had we played through the song once maybe with him. And I know the song better, of course, so I should have followed him and been able to bring the vibe or the energy of the bridge down a little bit more. That would have been a really nice musical touch. And here you can hear Micah, he's playing some higher chord voicings to try and stay out of my way, because I'm playing the lead like on the first to third frets on the A string and the E string kind of. So he's trying to get up out of my way with his harmony, which is a good call. I'm not sure why we did this bit for an arrangement. I think it was to create a little solo transition. You can totally hear Mike has been listening to a lot of Jake right about this time. But otherwise, this little fill doesn't do much for the arrangement. And totally rushing the outro. But having a precise collected ending is super important as well. And that's something that I learned more and more over the years, is that if you can like da 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 da, that kind of exciting ending that we had for that song, we may have rushed up to it, which I don't like, but having that walk up, it's very synchronized and it gets the whole band on the same exact page. And when you can nail it, it's so much more exciting than just like fading out or just kind of coming to a halt. It's just like you were driving the car at 100 miles an hour, and then at the very end, you just went off a cliff, and that was just the end of the song. And that's sort of the impression you like to leave people with when you play kind of an upbeat, exciting song like that, especially an instrumental. You have a little bit less to work with. You got to kind of use the different dynamics you can pull out of the instruments to their best effect. So thanks for tuning in. This is my self-critique of some old school recordings. We're moving up through the years. We've gone from like 2008 to 2011. Next, we're going to go to 2013. Before that, I want to encourage everybody to check out my new course called Sixth Sense. 16 video lessons on how to play sixth harmonies, almost 2 hours of teaching material, and priced similar to like what you'd expect at a festival workshop. Actually, this week, this is going to get dated really quick, but this week only, up until April 24th, you're going to be able to get 20% off of face value. So it's just going to be $20. And at the end of launch week, it's going to go back up to $25. So jump in while you can. Please go check it out. If you get in and you think it's great, feel free to send me an email with a testimonial. Help me hype it up, get people involved, and teach some folks how to get some Hawaiian-sounding sixth sounds. And I used Hawaiian as kind of the target genre because I feel like most people have no idea how to play Hawaiian music, and that's a very accessible way to introduce them to some Hawaiian sounds. But it's all applicable to any genre of music, whether you play jazz or country or rock and roll or pop or whatever it may be. Sixth harmonies are there, because sixth harmonies exist in every single chord you play, for the most part. It's a built-in harmony, and just this shows you how to pull it out and use it as a lead instead. So now we're flashing forward a bit to 2013. Same thing. This is again at the Kahumoku Ohana Music and Lifestyle Workshop at the end of workshop concert again, and I'm accompanied by Micah Wong. It's been 2 years, and the improvement from 2011 to 2013 really super struck me when I watched this, kind of to prepare myself for this podcast episode. Because what I noticed is that, okay, so backing up a little bit, from 2012 to 2013, I went to the Institute of Hawaiian Music over on the island of Maui. Spent a year and a half blasting through kind of a condensed 2-year certificate program, is what they considered it. And we played a ton of music. We learned how to kind of speak Hawaiian language, not super well, just like 201 level, but well enough to know what we're talking about in the songs. And we played a ton of gigs, which is what I think is probably what is the reason for a much more collected stage presence, greatly improved time, and just a number of other things that kind of come across so much better when you've had a chance to be on stage a lot, which I really hadn't back in 2011 when the last clip was from. I had played a few gigs here and there in Kona Town or whatever, and played a couple of times maybe at the Kahumoku workshop, but those were like huge deals because we'd never done it before. But coming back to camp in 2013, I had played, hundreds of gigs. I don't even know how many shows we played or how many songs we just jammed while we were in the Institute of Hawaiian Music, but it was a profound number for the amount of time that we were there, going to school, doing homework and all of the stuff, basically a full course load along with playing gigs. It was pretty bonkers. I'll let it speak for itself. This is a Herb Ota Jr. and Daniel Ho tune called Step It Up. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing Micah and I's cover of it on the podcast. He's usually pretty cool about that stuff. So Micah's playing lead here. I'm on rhythm. And my pocket is just profoundly improved from Carve. Just like sitting way back, letting the song kind of speak for itself and instead of trying to push it along. And at this point, I had just gotten the Morbetta, so my pickup plugged-in sound is a lot better than it was with the, I think it was the Maisai in the Kamaka. It just feels like we've really grown up a lot as musicians. And so now I'm playing lead, trying to rip off Daniel Ho a little bit. So as far as solos go, I don't feel like I had as much to say at this point, musically. But I feel like this was probably the best my chops ever were, as far as being able to just power stuff out. I was really well practiced at this point in my career. The unison playing here is kind of a cool touch. And at this point, Micah and I had played together a lot more than we had before. There's no substitute for time when you're playing with somebody, just understanding where they're going to be in the groove, where they go for their solos, how you can kind of counteract that or counterbalance it. It's just really powerful stuff having played with somebody for a long time. And unfortunately, I don't think Micah's playing a whole lot these days. He's doing the daddy thing. Got married a number of years ago and has a couple kids. I think number 2 just came out. Love you, Micah, if you're listening. That's a really nice variation that Mike has got going on there. Going high when it usually goes low. I totally don't remember this part. Oh, I really like it though. That's cool. Sometimes you do great stuff and you don't remember that you did it and you go back to playing the song the old way, but it can actually be quite clever when you do stuff like that. And so like that movement, da 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 da, to break up the chords, I feel like that's a much stronger arrangement sort of statement because it's very different from the rest of the song. If you go back and listen to the outro of Carve, where there's kind of the little vampy jam solo thing at the end, it's kind of like more of the same, just with different chords, maybe more open chords, and it's fine. It does the job. But that sort of a thing where you break it down, I sounds like I'm playing some sort of octave riff, kind of as part of the rhythm part. It catches your ear a little bit more and pushes the song along because you're not used to hearing that. It's like, oh wow, the rhythm just changed significantly, but it still fits. But it's much more interesting. And then when you go back to the chords, it's like, oh well, that's familiar. And then when you change it again, it kind of becomes this rhythmic motif that your audience will get used to hearing. And kind of every time you do it, it'll get a little more familiar, but it's still movement and it's still exciting because it is a variation, a significant variation. And so that's part of the power of arranging, is that you could do it as poorly or as greatly as you would like, or as you know how. Because just a flat, boring arrangement won't be that interesting to listen to. But if you do like an exciting arrangement where there's lots happening and things are changing and moving around and the instruments are shifting, doing different parts, that's a real joy to listen to. I know I'm going to lose a lot of the older folks out there who are listening, but like Fall Out Boy, the first couple of Fall Out Boy albums are so much fun to listen to because there's a million things going on, but it's always changing and it's always dynamic, and there's breaks and there's punches and the riffs play together, and it's just super, super dynamite as far as arranging goes. And I love a well-arranged song. Everybody does. It's just lots of fun to listen to. And so good job. Pat on the back, old Brad. So as you can tell, that last clip, I was probably most excited about hearing back. It sounds really good. I can be really proud of that moment in time. And I think it was the end of the workshop. It was kind of a zen place for me, if I remember right. Just being there kind of right after school. And yeah, it would have been November 2013, and I graduated in May or June or whatever it would have been. Yeah, so I was just like in a super calm, low-key place, kind of at peace with myself, because I'm home at this point. It was sort of stressful being not home, being in school and being away. But yeah, it was a good moment in time. I remember Uncle John Keave came up to me afterwards, said, "Brad, that was bad. Bad good." And so that felt good. That was one of the first real big name compliments I remember ever getting. It's like, oh, Uncle John liked it. Wow, that's pretty cool. So thanks, Uncle John. That little bit of approval goes a long ways, and it's much appreciated. And so up to this point of what you've been hearing, I haven't really gotten into singing a whole lot. I really started singing in 2009 when my family moved back to California for some random reason one year. I think they were planning on maybe selling the house, and then the economy crashed and that didn't pan out, and we ended up just moving back to Hawaii anyways. But I was teaching a few lessons out in Cali, and I remember that I realized at one point, it's like, oh, damn, I'm really going to have to learn to sing if I want to be able to have students and be able to present songs with them, because they need that to hang on to. I can't just hum a song or play the chords and expect them to know where the melody is. They need that from me as a teacher. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try and start singing. And so I started singing like really straightforward, easy songs like Waimanalo Blues. I remember being one of them. But before that, I hadn't really dabbled in singing too much. And after that, I started to do it more and more. And even in school, I wasn't doing a whole lot, but it was becoming a little more natural. I remember taking vocal lessons as one of my special, like, extracurricular classes. We had some funds for like paying for private lessons in school. And so I remember taking some vocal lessons with Karen Saring, who is a fabulous vocal teacher over at the university in Maui. And that was super helpful, but I still wasn't like there. And it got easier over time. It wasn't something that it's still not something I'm super comfortable with, but I appreciate the value that it brings to music, being able to share lyrics along with the musical or the instrumental component, I should say. It's all music. It's just very, very valuable. People will normally have more patience to sit and listen to a vocal song, even if it's poorly sung, than an instrumental, because you have to work so much harder to keep an instrumental interesting. It's really a tough thing for ukulele players who are like, no, I don't want to sing. Like Jake, kind of the fact that, well, in any instrumental ukulele, solely instrumental ukulele player, really, like Herb and Jake and like, Kale Gameau, I don't believe he sings, Chris Fujigami, Brittany Paiva, these people don't really sing, and the fact that they've been able to make it work is that much more amazing to me, because the whole entire set's got to be just like, wow, it's got to be amazing the whole time. Whereas if you sing, it's you catch people a little bit more kind of off their balance, because they end up like listening to the lyrics, listening to the story, listening to kind of your expression of the story. It's just a story when you have lyrics, and they listen to that and they pay attention to that, and that can be dynamic. The story can be dynamic in addition to the music, as opposed to only having musical dynamics to work with. Anyways, we're going to flash forward considerably here. This is 2019. A couple friends and I, Higgs, who's been on the podcast before, and my buddy Dagan Bernstein decided to put together kind of an artist appreciation venue, is basically what it was. But we wanted to give people in Waimea town and Honoka'a and the surrounding areas, Big Island basically, we wanted to give folks a chance to play their original songs and really be heard. You don't think about it, but that doesn't happen very often. To write an original song and to perform it somewhere, if you perform it at a festival, people are drinking beer and talking to their friends or doing whatever. It's a festival. If you play it at a restaurant, people are eating their dinner. They're not listening to you. You're just a background music. So we decided we're going to start this venue that is very intentionally for listening. We called it the listening room. And damn it, there's no talking whatsoever when the person is playing. You're there to listen to the song that they wrote and they're now sharing with you. And so it's kind of a revolutionary thing, and people really liked it. We didn't get as much support as I would have liked, just because it's a small town. It's a small island. It's hard to get people out after hours. They're just not used to that being available. And once a month trying to get them to come out was a challenge. Anyways, this is from my set when I played at the listening room. And so this is a vocal song. All that to say, this is a song where I'm singing, and I actually haven't listened to this one all the way through since digging it back up. So it'll be interesting to hear, because I do notice that, especially vocals, your presentation changes significantly over time as you learn to sing better and express better and better. So this is called Bulletproof. It's off of my LP, If Only. And yeah, you'll hear all that it's about right about now. wrote this song about being appreciated. I'm playing this with a capo to get it up to where it's a little bit more comfortable to sing. That's why my ukulele sounds kind of closed and small. Look towards the crowd, you can't miss her. She's wearing the high lace-up boots, the big hoop earrings, her black lipstick says up front, speak on the dark side. With eyes like that, in the light you'll stay. If you see her, you'd be wise to tread lightly. She made up her mind yesterday. Soon she will find that what she had in mind will slow down her search for the perfectly aligned. And in her plans, a quick trip to Japan will make sure that her friends will be worried when she goes missing. She's fed up and sick. So it sounds to me like I'm singing a little bit back, and I'm not presenting the song super well lyrically. I feel like if I was to sing it now, I would enunciate more. One of the things that Karen Saring told me early on when I was singing is that you need to like break it up more. Some people sing everything really clipped. I'm not one of those people. I try and legato everything. And so singing out and enunciating and, stopping notes as I'm singing is one of the main points that I focus on when I'm trying to sing, because it's something I really struggle with. Make sure that her friends will be worried when she goes missing. Holding back the hate, this bulletproof glass door, it is flawed. And how long till it breaks? She doesn't want to find out. That's why she should have left yesterday. Look towards the crowd, you'll never miss her. She's perfect. And I think the reason I do that is because I'm trying to avoid like popping the mic or getting like crazy sibilance, where you get that hard S or T or G sound, whatever it may be. And that helps. It's something to be aware of as you're using a mic, but it also can detract from your enunciation. And sometimes you just gotta like say, screw it. I just really need to enunciate the song and make sure my words are heard. Because it's a lot harder to hear words when you're singing them over an instrument than if you're just like talking. She goes missing. I'm using a lot of dynamic range right here for this outro riff. And then, of course, the classic chimes at the end. Thank you. That's called Bulletproof. Noodling, not approved. No, that very naturally happens. It kind of, I think it's just a reflex that a musician puts in there. Like, oh, got to fill the space. Musicians are really shy about space. Pay attention to that sometime. We kind of get insecure on stage when there's just nothing going on. Though I will share, before we wrap up here, I went to a concert at the Honeycott People's Theater once. Super low-key thing. It was, I believe he was from Turkey. Definitely Middle Eastern, but he played some like Turkish folk instrument. Played amazing music. But he requested at the beginning of the concert, please don't clap at the end of the songs. And there weren't a lot of people in the theater. It wasn't a big show. It wasn't super well promoted. And, you got to have a certain special kind of interest to, go to see a Turkish musician, or a Turkish folk musician, nonetheless. And it was profound to just let the music exist into silence and into space. And he intentionally let there be big gaps before he talked again. But like there was the very first song, there was, somebody in the back was like, and everybody was like, shh. And after that, no one clapped after the songs. And it was amazing. This was years and years ago. This is fairly early on from when I moved to Honoka'a. Must have been like right after I got back from school, or even before I went to school. I don't know. But it really stuck with me because it was a very profound illustration of the power of silence. It was mind-blowing. So if you get the chance, when you're performing a song, don't feel like you got to fill the space. There can just be nothing. Just let it exist. And, it's a spell. You're casting a spell when you play a song. And you can either continue it by doing the right thing, or you can break it by doing the wrong thing. And sometimes noodling can kind of be good. It can kind of be a segue. Sometimes talking can be good. It can be kind of a segue. But then also it can kind of kill the vibe. And if you're just talking to fill the space, ask yourself if you should just wait a second or start the next song or go right into your story of the next song, as opposed to just like running your mouth or diddling. That's another thing that I've had to learn over the years. But I have less to say about that more current performance because it's a lot closer to me and I haven't progressed as much past that point. I mean, certainly I think I could probably play it better. I could certainly probably sing it better now. Not necessarily from a chop standpoint, but from a comfort in expression standpoint. I feel like I have a lot more variety in my library that I can pull from to present a song in a more interesting and engaging, relatable way. And that just comes from time and just playing music over a long period of time. But yeah, thanks for coming along for this ride with me. I hope it was kind of interesting. I needed something to talk about on the podcast. I wasn't quite sure what to do. I had another subject in my mind, but I didn't want to do something that was like negative vibes, which this other thing was a little bit negative. So I thought this would be an interesting thing to throw out there. Give you kind of a look back into my past and some of the different phases that I've gone through and some of the different sounds that I was producing at different times. Because we really do change over the years. It may seem like everything's the same, but it really is not. So thanks for listening. The Live Ukulele podcast is published on the first and third Saturdays of every month. If you're not already subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, mainly Apple Podcasts is the big one, please do so. If you're not signed up for the Uke-letter, my kind of lamely named newsletter that I send out usually less than once a month, but at a time like this when I'm launching a course, I'll send out a number of emails this week to let people know about what the course is about and everything like that. And if you're interested in learning how to play sixth harmonies on your ukulele, please follow the link in the episode description and check it out. I'm really proud of it. I think it's a good start for good things to come. As always, take care of one another. Be safe out there. Keep playing music. And keep making those good vibes. I'll catch you in the next episode. I'll be talking with Tobias Elof. We had a really fun interview, and I'm going to finish editing that up the next few days. Get that uploaded for your listening pleasure. See you down the road. Aloha.